Hello, friends, and welcome to the Nugget Climbing Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Dimmitt. Today's guest on the podcast is my buddy, Drew Ruana. Drew is an absolute bone crusher. Drew Ruana is a 20-year-old boulderer, sport climber, and competition climber who very recently emerged onto the outdoor bouldering scene and has quickly established himself as one of the strongest climbers in the world. And it seems like he's just getting started. We talked about climbing Sleepwalker, Drew's first V16 that he sent back in January of this year. We talked about the significance of skin and conditions when climbing near your limit and some of the tactics Drew uses for optimizing them. We talked about Drew's training philosophy, some of his favorite exercises on rings, and some of the stories behind his effort to qualify for the Olympics, and why he decided to transition away from competitions towards more outdoor climbing, and why he's excited to continue focusing on outdoor bouldering for the foreseeable future. Drew also sent me his training plan so I could add it to the show notes. Feel free to share it, and please do not hesitate to send us questions if anything is unclear. Maybe send them to me, and I'll compile a list and get clarification from Drew if needed. The training plan and links to all the photos and videos of the boulders and routes we mentioned are over at thenuggetclimbing.com, and there's a contact page there where you can reach me. I also link to all the products and the tools Drew talked about for those who are interested in that. This episode was recorded remotely, and the sound quality isn't perfect, but we did the best we could given the circumstances. I also forgot a question that I had wanted to ask Drew, and we ended up doing a second follow-up call to talk about his campusing routine and why he thinks campusing boulder problems in the gym helps his climbing. Unfortunately, the audio on that got kind of screwed up. I have no idea what happened. We used the exact same setup, and there was a bunch of white noise in the background that I could not get rid of. But the content is really interesting and it is definitely listenable. So I decided to attach that to the end of this interview after the music. So if you are interested in hearing Drew talk about his campusing and how he integrates that into his climbing, you can find that as a little bonus at the very end of the episode. Drew is an amazing kid. I met him when he was 13 years old, and he's always had a great head on his shoulders. I really respect him a lot, and I am excited to see what he does in the future. He's on an absolute rampage. Great things ahead for this guy in climbing and probably outside of climbing as well. I appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there, and please enjoy this conversation with Drew Ruana.
Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
Right on, man. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Feeling good? Cool.
Yeah.
Hi, Drew.
What's up, Steven? How's it going?
Hey, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate you making the time. I know this is a interesting, tricky situation here, weird circumstances, but I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, of course.
So you're in Salt Lake right now. And
yes,
it sounds like you took a rest day. It sounds like you've been kind of doing some basic training at home and stuff, but today was a rest day. So I'm curious, what does a day in the life of Drew Ruana look like on a rest day during quarantine?
Kind of same as everyone else. Like, I'll feel bad for myself and make myself go on a run or something like that because I hate sitting down doing nothing. But besides that, like, there's really not much going on. Like, everybody's kind of in the same boat. Like, I've been trying to catch up on a bunch of different Netflix shows, so right now I'm watching Game of Thrones.
Oh, you're watching Game of Thrones. Have you watched it before?
No, never. First time for me.
All right, where are you at?
I'm like halfway through season 6.
Oh, you're
Things are getting pretty intense. Yeah.
Nice. Are you the type of person that can't help but binge it, or are you...
Oh, yeah. I'm a binge watcher.
Full-on binge mode.
I don't like watching new shows because if I find something I like, I'll just sit in my room, turn off the lights, and just watch every episode until it's over. I just can't help myself. So,
got you.
Game of Thrones has been testing me pretty hard recently.
Nice. I'm glad you found something to keep yourself entertained.
Yeah, it'll keep me busy for another day.
Does going on a run count as a rest day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anytime I don't use my fingers, it counts as like a rest day.
Nice.
So.
I like that. Cool. Well, I would love to talk about obviously bouldering, but specifically, you and I ran into each other in Bishop. This is back in February, and I was out there for a while. And yeah, you had a really brief trip there, and it was a little bit tragic. Like, you came out, and you had a bunch of stuff, I'm sure, that you wanted to do. One of the things on your list was Goldfish Trombone.
Yeah.
I think it was like the last thing that you haven't done in the Tablelands.
Yeah, pretty much.
And, I was up there in the Happies that day, and within about an hour of you showing up, I go up there to kind of just like hang out, and you had already sussed it all out, figured out the moves, and you had this amazing go, and you basically did it, fell on the very last move. And
yeah, that was a bit tragic.
Toward like the most gnarly flapper I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's definitely the worst skin injury I've ever personally had.
Like, for listeners, it was like, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the entire month of February, I had to like put a Band-Aid over it and then tape over it. It was so bad.
I've basically
never had anything like that.
You tore a full pad flapper, and then there was a blood blister beneath the flapper that like circumnavigated your entire finger. I don't think I've seen anything like that.
Yeah, that's never happened to me before. I don't even know how it happened. Like, it was so freak. I was just looking at my finger, and all of a sudden it kind of just realized that my climbing was just not going to be that good for the next month because of my skin. Yeah, that was. You watched me lance that. That was a process. That's pretty painful. A whole lot of swear words involved.
Yeah, Drew was doing surgery in the van with a lancet and a box cutter blade and all sorts of stuff.
Oh my god, I literally felt like I was just cutting off my entire finger. If I go my entire life without getting a skin injury that bad, I'd consider it a success. So.
Well, it was pretty fascinating, and just in that brief hour that I got to witness, it was really interesting to observe your process, and I'd love to dig into that a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that really stood out to me with that was at one point we were talking about the all the amazing recent sends that you've had, Sleepwalker and some of these other V15s you've done recently, and you kind of said with the really, really hard climbing that's right at your limit like that, it basically comes down to skin and conditions. And it was interesting to observe a number of the tools and the tactics that you've kind of implemented with that. Tell me about your Milwaukee fan.
Oh my god, that thing is the best purchase I've ever made in my life. I was in Red Rocks in December. It was pretty hot. I just kept on like greasing off of holds that I knew I like should be able to hold. And earlier in November, when I'd also been in Red Rocks, my friend Zach Galla had a fan, and that was pretty game changer. So the first day that it was too hot in December, I just went to Home Depot and bought the most powerful fan I could find. And this thing's got like 8 hours of battery life on like full power. Like, I charge it like once a week, and it's like, it just lasts. It's awesome. I use it to like cool off the holds right before like serious tries, and I use it to like also cool off my hands so I sweat less. Yeah. And it makes such a big difference. It kind of like simulates colder weather for like one very brief try. On sandstone, especially in granite, it just works wonders. Like, right before I did Sleepwalker, I think I held the fan on the crux hold for about 2 minutes without moving it.
And that was interesting to me.
It that much better.
Yeah, you don't just use it on your hands, you actually hold it up against the holds as well.
Yeah, it'll knock off like a little bit of excess torque, like just give the rock like that much more friction. Like, when you're climbing at your limit, it's a game of like not even 1%, it's a game of like 0.1%. Like, everything has to just go absolutely perfectly. And that means your like skin, which is like, the contact between you and the wall, your skin has to be really good. And the conditions have to be like good for climbing. Like, I don't think as many people realize like how important that is for like hard sending. By hard sending, I mean like near your ripple limit.
Right. And I mean, I've seen fans at the crag before. I've seen a lot of people have these little battery powered fans that are maybe, 6 inches in diameter, things like that. But this Milwaukee fan that you have, it's about the size of a backpack.
Yeah, dude, it weighs like 15 pounds.
Like a sport climbing pack.
That thing goes everywhere. Yeah, it goes everywhere with me.
You hiked up with a bunch of crash pads and that thing in your hand. I was like, what is going on? Like, this is a new game I haven't played before.
Yeah, I know. I always get like weird looks from people. They're like, why do you have a fan? But now it's like starting to become like not necessarily more accepted, but more like common. Like more people are starting to realize that like fans are like an artificial tool that you can use to get you up the wall.
Yeah.
It's like better shoes and better chalk and stuff like that.
Yeah, portable send conditions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So another thing that was interesting is I've never done so many night sessions as I did on that trip. It was pretty warm. It was late February, but it was already getting pretty warm. And so we would wait until 8 or 9 p.m. and then head out there. Tell me about your light setup. That was really cool to see.
I just bought a bunch of lights on Amazon, kind of like the cheapest but also best looking ones I could find, you know?
I'll find some and put them in the show notes for people for a reference, but just like some powerful LED lights that kind of stand up.
Yeah, exactly. The ones you can get on Amazon for like 10 or 15 bucks a pair. Like super, super easy. They just charge with like a micro USB. And yeah, I have like 6 of those and I just bring them all out when I go night session and it just light up like an entire canyon. It's pretty awesome.
Nice. Anything else you've kind of come across in the last 6 months as you've been kind of breaking out into harder boulders? Anything for optimizing either skin or conditions?
There's so like Rhino Skin Solutions, they have like a whole lot of good stuff for skin. I have like a kit that I bring in a chalk bucket. I don't have a chalk bucket for chalk, but I have a chalk bucket that I keep a bunch of skin stuff in. So yeah, I have like just this old chalk bag that's like 6 years old that I just love and I'm like never gonna get rid of it. It's like just covered in like a bunch of different like blood stains and stuff. So that's like my chalk bag. And I have like a brand new nice chalk bucket, you know, and I just have never used it for like climbing. But I use that. I just keep a bunch of different skin products in there. So I have stuff that I use like when I'm immediately done climbing to like start the repair process.
Okay.
I have like different dry sprays that I use for my hand to like, you know, stop sweating. Got like files, stuff like that. I just carry it all around with me with this little chalk bucket. It's pretty swell.
That's awesome.
But it's just kind of everything. Like I have like really bad skin to begin with. Like,
does it sweat a lot?
It's not that it sweats a lot. It's just really weak. Like it tears super easily. Like I split super easily. I like sweat through the chalk really easily. So kind of all these things just help like that much more. One thing I found for myself, because I can relate to that with the skin. I feel like my skin always sucks. And I've been using the dry spray, especially in warmer temps. One thing I find though is that if I use that to the point where my skin feels dry and kind of hard and pretty good, I feel like a couple days later it just hasn't healed the same way that it normally would, and it starts to, I don't know, it's like compounding damage that doesn't really recover like normal. How do you deal with something like that? I just use Climb Skin. It works really well for me.
Okay.
And then I've kind of just accepted the fact that I'm never gonna have good skin, so I'm like whatever. Like I don't really care at this point.
Just
like
get stronger.
Yeah, like that's the only thing I can really do.
Okay.
Just like rest more days in a row, but you know, after a certain point, I don't want to like sit on the couch for like 5 days waiting for a split to heal. Like I'll just tape it and go out anyway and just complain. Like I'd rather do that.
Okay. Well, let's segue with that. So you've been absolutely crushing lately. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's Sleepwalker, your first V16. I think, when did you do your first V15? I remember you telling me a crazy statistic.
Like November.
Yeah, November. And how many have you done V15s and harder since November?
Like 7 or 8.
That's so cool. That's amazing, man.
I'm like close on like a bunch of other ones too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if there had been different circumstances, like that number might be closer to like, you know, 12 to 13 right now.
Yeah, it seems like you weren't slowing down at all up until this coronavirus.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't stay at the top of the game now, but
yeah, well,
that's just, it's fine. It's been a really fun year so far, so.
Yeah, I'd love to get to what you're excited about most after the coronavirus, but let's wait on that for now. I would love to hear first, can you tell me what a day in the life looked like when you were projecting Sleepwalker?
Pretty simple. Like I had a couple friends that I was out there with, Nathan Williams, Cameron Hurst, and Brooke Rabbit too. So we'd all just wake up in the morning, I'd eat my bowl of oatmeal. We'd like go outside and be, you know, we'd go to like Brooke and Cameron's project first. And then like later in the day when the temps got a little bit better, Nathan and I would go try Sleepwalker. He was getting like really close as well. But then they left for a bit, and then so it was like just me by myself for like a few sessions, like the last 3 sessions. And then, yeah, it's just super simple. I just wake up, go try that thing, chill, like in no particular order. Sometimes we went really early in the morning for better temps, and then we'd just rest the rest of the day. Sometimes we'd go at night, rest the entire day before that. Kind of just depend what like the immediate forecast looked like. So we kind of would try and guess what time of the day would be best for it.
Okay. Were you just resting and trying that, or were you mixing in other days doing other stuff?
The first few days that I was trying Sleepwalker, I was also trying the Nest.
Okay.
I hadn't even actually planned on trying Sleepwalker too much when I got to Red Rocks. Like, the Nest was my main objective. And
for listeners, the Nest is a V15.
Yeah, a different V15. Super classic. It's really, really beautiful line. But with that one, I like I said, my skin is really bad. And I had to tape my right hand pointer finger like every single day until the day I sent, just because I had this really bad split that wasn't healing because I wasn't resting. And because of that, like, I just like physically could not do the move with tape on my finger. Like, I needed to basically wait for my finger to heal. And so once I kind of like had that realization, I was like, whatever, I'll just go try Sleepwalker. Like, it's a cool line, like, it's hard, whatever. Like, no way I'm gonna send it. Like, it's too hard for me. And then I just started trying it. And what was nice is I could try that thing with tape. So at least I was like, all right, like, I don't have to like sit on a couch and just wait for my skin to heal. Like, I can like actively still climb and wait for it to recover. Okay. And then kind of as the days went on, I was like, oh man, like, I could actually do this boulder. Like, what the heck? Like, I did not think I was gonna get like as close as this, like, this fast. And then I like did that boulder after 8 days, and then rested a day. Finally, my skin, like, I didn't need a tape anymore, and then I just did the next day as well.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah. It was like probably the best 2 days of my life, like, in a row. It was a dream. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. How long did that feeling last?
About a week probably, and then I just wanted more. I was like, all right, time to do some more boulders.
That's pretty good. I mean, I ask because it's so funny with climbers, right? It's like we'll put months and months into these things, or even seasons, and then you do the thing and like you're so stoked, and then like 2 days later you're like, okay, on to the next, or like an hour later you're like, all right, well, start the process
it's like
over
you already
again.
Yeah, it's like the feeling of topping out. It's like a drug, and then just as soon as it wears off, you just need another hit. Like, it's crazy.
But a week's pretty good. Annoying. That's a pretty strong hit.
Yeah, dude.
That's a good one.
I was like, oh, I don't even need to climb for a week. Like, I'm so psyched. And then, like, a couple days later, I was like, all right, we gotta find another project. I'm psyched again. I need to send something again.
So another thing that was really surprising, just kind of hanging out with you in Bishop, and I'm curious if this is what happened on Sleepwalker, but you weren't really warming up on other boulders all that much. You kind of just hiked up there, and you had like a hangboard thing, and you weren't really climbing as your warm-up, and you were just trying the project. Can you tell me how you think about that?
Yeah, I like don't really ever warm up on boulders anymore. Boulders that I try, like, they'll have moves that are like easier on them, like, when you get on V15, like, not every single move is going to usually be, like, nail biter.
Sure.
There's, like, easier moves than others. But, it's just easier for me because I, like, know exactly what it takes to get my fingers warm, and then I just slowly start, like, working the moves until I feel good. And then, that's what I've been doing, like, pretty much the entire year now.
Okay. And is that primarily going back to the skin thing, is that just to not risk losing skin unnecessarily?
Not really that. More just like I am super impatient, and as soon as I hike up, I immediately want to try the project.
Okay.
And then I just figured out the most efficient way to like get warmed up.
So what does your warm up process look like? You had a bunch of bands and stuff too. I'd love to just hear you kind of talk through your sequence.
So I just do like basic band work, nothing special, just like shoulder raises, like stuff that you see in the gym. Like usually only takes me like 5 minutes. And I have a portable hangboard, and I usually just sit down on the ground and just pull on the edges until my fingers feel strong. And then I just slowly start like pulling onto the wall, and like I start with the easiest moves and then start trying the harder moves on the project. And then, 30 minutes later, I'm like trying the moves on the project.
Okay. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, nothing super excessive.
So you just have a sling with the fingerboard looped over your feet?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Are you doing any like contractions with your fingers or just isometric pulls or?
A little bit. Like, I don't really have anything written down that I do. I just kind of like, and sometimes I'll like, start pulling and like pretty much instantly I can tell that I like already feel super good.
Okay.
And so sometimes it takes me like 30 minutes to like get my fingers like ready before I start climbing, and other times it's like 30 seconds. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's kind of just like learning to, for me at least, I just learned to like kind of listen to my body and figure out like when it's time to like start climbing hard.
Huh. Cool.
I would not recommend other people just hopping on their project after 30 seconds, though. It doesn't always work for me. So definitely figure out the best warm-up that works for you.
Yeah, right on. So I'm curious about projecting stuff that hard at your limit. How common is it for you to have 2 projects like you had with Sleepwalker and the Nest versus just one at a time?
Really common. Like, I'll have like multiple projects, especially like near my home and stuff like that, just because there's so much stuff to try.
Okay.
On trips, I'll usually just focus on like 1 boulder or 2 boulders.
Okay.
But when I'm like home, then it's just like I can try whatever I want whenever I want.
Do you like to bounce around and keep things kind of fresh?
Yeah. When I start getting like really close to something, then I like kind of hone in on it.
Okay.
Just focus on that 1 boulder.
Uh-huh.
But otherwise, like, I like having a lot of different projects. It makes it easy to like kind of continue training almost when you're outside. So you like do different moves. You don't just do like the same 6 moves over and over and over.
Totally.
So it's nice to have like different projects, but on a trip, it gets way too easy to get like sucked into too many different projects at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, before you know it, you like might not send any of them. So
Got you.
Trips, yeah, for me at least, trips, it's definitely better to like kind of target 1 or 2 boulders, but otherwise I'm like just trying kind of everything I can.
Okay. And then what about volume? There was this great video that came out recently, and I'll link to it in the show notes. I think it was like 3 Days in Joe's was the name of the video.
Yeah, 3 Days in Joe's.
And it was you, I think you climbed, you'll have to fact check this because I don't have it in front of me. It was like 18 boulders.
Yeah, 18 double digits in 3 days.
In 3 days. It was bananas. It's just like you just crushing everything in Joe's in 3 days. How do you think about that? Do you mix that in intentionally? Or do you just have, certain trips where you're like, hey, I don't really feel like being at my limit right now. I just want to do a bunch of climbing.
Yeah, sometimes it's it can kind of be like, I don't necessarily go out of my way to like have days like those, but in that case, I've had like other days where I've done like 3 or 4 separate V13s in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mainly just because there's like, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not trying to sound like a dick at all. But like sometimes there's not stuff like hard enough, so I'm like, okay, well, I'll just start at like the hardest thing I can find and just kind of work around that. And so like now if it's my style, like I can do like V14 in like a few minutes if it's my style. So, it saves like a whole lot of energy to like allow me to keep climbing for the rest of the day.
God, Drew, I know that, I understand, and it's still blowing my mind. Like, I've seen you do it, and it's still blowing my mind to hear you say that. That's so cool, though. That's awesome.
It took a long time to get here.
Yeah, totally. No, I think I met you for the first time when you were 13 years old.
Probably.
And you'd already been climbing way longer than I had at the time. I think I'm 10 years older than you. And you've been busting your ass as hard as one possibly can ever since. So, yeah, you've definitely worked for it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
One more thing I want to get to with your bouldering approach, because this one was just funny to me. And I think you said you learned this from, was it Griffin?
It was Griffin, yeah.
Okay, tell me about the Mike Ikes.
Dude, the Mike Ikes. Man, I don't know if it's placebo or something, but I learned this from Griffin Whiteside. And for those of you who don't know, Griffin Whiteside is one of the strongest people, if not the strongest in the country right now, / the planet. The dude is an absolute freak. But
I was shocked when you told me some of what he's done.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's super under the radar.
Yeah.
He just climbs only for himself. Like, I respect that a lot. It's super awesome. But he was telling me that he gets like a small box of like Mike Ikes.
Mm-hmm.
He just brings that out to the cliff. He could be like Sour Patch Kids, like, any sort of like candy. But he'll eat like 1 or 2 pieces like in between tries. And I started doing that. And I don't know if it's causation or correlation, but that was when I had like some of the best weeks of climbing of my life. So,
oh my gosh,
just something to think about.
That's amazing.
The first time I started just eating candy when I was at the cliff, I started climbing harder. So
That's so funny. I want to throw this out there for listeners. I actually just did an episode with Katie Lambert, and she's got a master's in nutrition, and she actually spoke to that. It was kind of interesting, and she did kind of say, like,
I'm sure it's like beneficial.
Like, overall,
a little bit of sugar.
Totally. Like, don't make that a regular thing. And, most days have normal food at the crag. But if you need the rocket fuel to really peak for something, once in a while.
So every single day.
Drew's just running off rocket fuel.
Every day, man. Can't get enough of it.
Awesome. So again, you've been absolutely crushing lately. Of course, I was fascinated with what you've been up to with training. I think every time I see you, every year or so at Smith over the years, I bug you about your training. I just want to know what Drew's up to now. And this time it was really, really different. I hadn't heard you talk about anything like this really with your training. Can you kind of break down what your current training philosophy is in the last couple of years?
I don't have anything written down specifically. I just bust my ass as hard as I can pretty much every single day I walk into the gym.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at is really your mindset around it and just the philosophy of your approach. I thought it was really, really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I really like seeing personal improvement, and the flip side of that is I hate seeing negative progress. So I'll do anything it takes to keep getting stronger. And after a certain point, it kind of gets really hard to keep getting stronger.
Yeah.
But recently, and by recently I mean I haven't really been training too much since I've been climbing outside. You can't really do both effectively. You can either train really hard and get stronger, or you can perform outside. You can't do both at the same time.
So do you mean back as far as November?
Yeah, this is kind of more September, October, November.
Okay.
So I was still competing in the World Cups through October, so I still had to train for those.
Okay.
I just I do my normal climbing stuff, nothing special, and then
just
I've been
a bouldering
doing
session.
Yeah, just pretty much just bouldering session. I'll try a bunch of hard climbs. Sometimes I'll try and do double laps on hard boulders. I like circuit walls a lot because you can make pretty interesting moves there. You can kind of fine tune certain moves that might be weaknesses for you.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of that, there's nothing really special. And then when I also spend a whole lot of time in the weight room doing front levers, one arm pull-ups, typical stuff. So nothing really special. I just think it's purely effort level that kind of determines how strong you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
There's no magic workout that'll make you really strong or bump you up another V grade. But if you bust your ass till you're about to throw up, if you do that enough, every single day, soon enough it becomes your norm, and you're just giving 100% without realizing it every single time you walk in the gym.
Oh, wow.
And so that's I don't know. It's worked for me. I've been training for my entire life pretty much. I joined a climbing team when I was 8 years old, started competing when I was 8. And then so I just learned how to push really, really hard to, keep improving.
Mm-hmm. One thing I would throw out with that, I think as an observation just for listeners to consider, as you just said, you have been training your whole life. And I kind of can't help but wonder if all that training has kind of built up your resilience and your capacity to be able to train the way that you have been.
Oh, it absolutely has.
Yeah.
The training plan that I have now, a lot of people were asking me for it earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
And for all you guys out there, if you want it, just send me a DM. I have it written down. I'll send it your way. But it is it kicks my ass. And
I'll add it to the show notes if that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll send it in. But yeah, this workout is, I figured it out that it works really well for me. I didn't pull it from anything online. This is just a collection of things that I've found makes me stronger. And then I just do it until I feel like I'm about to yak, and then I call it a day. So it kicks my butt, so it's probably pretty hard.
And I think, you just spoke to front levers and pull-ups, and I remember you saying that you were doing a lot of rings.
Yeah, whole lot of rings.
What are a couple of your favorite exercises that you're doing with rings?
I like doing flies. So basically, you put your feet on the ground, rings are just above the ground, and then you stretch your arms out on either side of you till you're basically in a T position. Your chest is right above the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You just hold the tension there.
So your body's planked, and you're holding your arms out straight to the sides.
Yeah. So those are really good for kind of developing compression muscles. If they get too easy, just start adding weight onto your back until they get hard again. So that's kind of what I started doing. But those are really good for you.
Uh-huh.
Doing like extensions or whatever, like I don't really know if there's like an actual name for it, but kind of the same as flies, like feet on the ground, but instead of putting your arms out on the side, you bring them like straight in front of you, kind of like an ab roller.
Okay. I think maybe I've heard those called Supermans.
Yeah, like I don't know the actual like name for it, doesn't really matter, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those are really good as well. And same deal, if they get too easy, just start adding weight. Or drop one of the arms and do them with one arm.
Oh man!
Yeah, those are.
Are you doing those with one arm?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, burly.
Sets of 10 or so when I'm fit. I can't. If I tried that right now, I'd break my shoulder. But that's because I haven't been in the gym for multiple months.
That is wild.
Yeah, I
cool.
mean, you gotta find stuff that'll make you stronger.
Yeah.
Right. Stuff that'll break you, and then just in turn break the workout.
I love that. Okay, and then another thing that was really interesting with that, I was kind of picking your brain, like what about variety? But it sounds like you're kind of doing that same approach, that same workout every time you go in the gym.
Yeah, that's just what I found out works best for me. I have like a couple alternate days. Like I don't only isolate certain muscle groups. Like I make sure to balance everything out. If you only train your chest, you might develop issues in your like back. So I like try and take an approach that like kind of focuses on like all the separate muscle groups, but kind of targeting ones that I need the most.
Okay.
And then obviously like front levers, one arm pull-ups, like that sort of stuff kind of like directly translates to climbing. And so I kind of focus on those a lot because you can never be too strong. Okay.
Are you just kind of like listening to your body each day to decide what you want to do that day?
Not really. I usually have like an A day and a B day for workouts, and so I'll do like A day, and then I won't do an A day again until I do a B day.
Okay, got it.
Just to like make sure I get everything balanced out. So like sometimes I'll go like a little too hard, or like maybe I won't sleep super well, or maybe I get like a little bit sick or under the weather, and then I feel like really bad for like the next 2 days, like just super sore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like not really smart to like hit the same muscle groups again, because like doing workouts like the stuff I'll share with you guys could injure you if you're like not prepared for it. So it's really good to like work out as hard as you can, but it's also more important to rest as well as you can.
Mm-hmm.
All the strength comes from recovery, not from the actual workouts. So
totally. Anything you've done to try to level up your recovery or to improve your recovery in the last couple of years? I wouldn't say that I had like a bad diet when I was younger, but when you're like 17, you can kind of eat what you want and get away with. Yeah, mine was terrible. So I didn't really care too much what I ate when I was 17. Like, I'd get some donuts and stuff whenever I felt like it. Like, really been trying to like clean up my eating and sleeping, and that's made like the biggest difference. Okay. Like any refined sugar, like just trying to eat like as healthy as possible, like every single meal, making sure to get like enough like leafy greens and spinach and stuff like that is really important, I think. Making sure you hit your like protein target is really important, because otherwise you just might not recover well enough. You'll stay sore, or worst case, you could get injured if you're working out super hard and not recovering well. Like I always get the same protein shake like after a workout. Like I try and go to bed around the same time and wake up at the same time every single day, just so I'm in like a habit. Kind of the more like not necessarily rigid that structure is, but like kind of the more I can stick to it, like the better I just feel. So if I can like get really into like a workout cycle and I get like my nutrition and recovery like on point, then like I don't really get sore the next day. Like eating and sleep is way more important than I'd like to admit. But yeah. How many grams of protein do you shoot for in a day? Around like 1 gram per pound of body weight works best for me. 1 gram per pound of body weight? Yeah, maybe a little bit more, like 1.1, 1.2. Like okay. I eat usually
anywhere from like, I don't count super carefully, but every day I get around 110 to 150 grams of protein.
Okay. Do you have any favorite sources?
I just use PhysiVantage products. I'm an athlete for them. They make great stuff, so they just keep me stocked up, and I just go through it.
Okay, so it's a lot of that from powders.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So not very much refined sugar except for Mike Ikes.
Yeah, except for Mike Ikes on this end.
Nice, man. Cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So as we kind of touched on earlier, you've been climbing forever. You've been training since you were like 8. I've always bugged you about your training, and it's been really interesting to kind of observe some of the shifts over the years. I remember at one point you were really into deadlifting, and I remember at one point your dad was like telling me how much you were deadlifting, and I was all stoked because I was into deadlifting. And then I asked you about it, and you're like, I've moved on. I only bench now.
Yeah, sounds like 16-year-old Drew.
Well, I don't know. It's interesting to me. I guess my question would be, you've done a lot of different training over the years. You've seen success from certain exercises. I'm sure you're smart, and you can recognize that like some of that stuff probably has, like you said earlier, has given you the resilience and kind of like created the foundation for you to train really hard now. Are there any exercises and stuff you've done in the past that you plan to continue long term, or any that you feel are like kind of the most important for you to have good longevity and to kind of stay healthy?
Kind of everything that I mentioned before is like part of like my long-term training. Earlier when I was younger, like 16 or 17, I was not super physically strong. Like I was really shrunky, tiny. I knew how to rock climb really well, but I was just nowhere near as like physically developed as like other kids my age. And so my coach told me that I needed to get strong and I needed to hit the weight room.
Okay.
And so for about 2 years, I probably worked out in the weight room more than I actually climbed.
Wow.
Just kind of like building up all these underdeveloped muscles in like my chest and shoulders and back. And I think that like, I don't know if I'm going to do like another cycle like that in the future, because I don't think I really need to.
Okay.
But doing like a heavy cycle in the gym in order to like kind of make your body like more well-rounded. I feel like now my shoulders and chest and stuff like that, like I'm not as likely to get injured just through workouts like that. And a whole lot of climbers don't have a background in weightlifting. They only have a background in like climbing and doing only exercises, which is good, but it can also like lead to injury if you have any muscular imbalances. So I think like every climber that like training in the gym should do like a cycle of like bench pressing and deadlifting and stuff like that, just to kind of develop all the muscles in the upper body. And that way it just makes it way easier to get stronger, and you're way less likely to get injured.
Cool.
At least in my experience.
Do you do any kind of strength assessments ever to kind of check in on that sort of stuff and reassess what you need?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I kind of just go in the gym and figure out what I need to do.
Cool.
And then do it.
Nice. All right. I would love to transition a little bit. I would love to talk to you about your relationship with climbing and how that's evolved over the years. How old were you when you started climbing?
Oh man, I think I was like 3 years old or something.
Okay.
I was really, really young.
And you started the team when you were 8?
Yeah. My dad just took me down to Smith Rock a lot when I was 3 years old.
Okay.
He just started putting me on like, the 5.3s, the 5.4s, super easy.
Uh-huh.
And so I just started like, we'd go fishing and like throw rocks or stuff like that. Just, things a 3-year-old kid loves to do.
Yeah.
And so I just started associating like that stuff with climbing.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of. Yeah, so that's what my dad did. So we like when I started, I'd do like maybe one route the entire weekend.
Huh.
Like he'd try his projects with his buddies, and then he'd like put a rope up on just like the easiest possible thing he could find,
mm-hmm.
and then just kind of throw me up on it. And like I don't even know if I did much climbing back then. I'm pretty sure he just pulled me up the entire wall on top rope, but I liked it. I liked kind of the idea of climbing back then just because I associated it with like really fun times.
Do you think, how intentional was that on his part, you think?
I'm sure it was 100% intentional.
Uh-huh.
He wanted me to start climbing.
Yeah.
He was just doing the thing that he knew was going to work.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah, and then when I was 6 years old, there was this 5'6" called like Dancer, I think, at Smith, and he told me if I got to the top, I could keep the quick draws on it. And so I was so psyched, man. I don't think I've ever tried that hard in my life.
Oh my gosh.
I got to the top and I was like, yes, these 5 brand new shiny quick draws are mine.
Oh my
gosh. And like, walk around the cliff, like telling everyone, like, I'll get my new quick draws. So, yeah. And then after that, dude, after I got those quick draws, man, I was so psyched. It's like all I wanted to do was rock climb.
Wow.
And then, yeah, joined the team when I was 8 years old. And kind of here we are now.
Were there any lulls in that period? I'm curious, because for me, I mean, I haven't really, I don't know if I've really stuck to anything that I did as a kid at that age, Like, I still do some of the stuff I did with my family, backpacking and some of the other activities, but I didn't start climbing until I was 18, and I kind of think, at least for myself, that's part of why I love it so much. Like, I can kind of remember being a V0 climber and like my entire progression. And I think that makes me appreciate it even more. But I'm curious for you. I mean, it's easy for me to imagine that there must have been moments when you felt pressure from either your parents or coaches, or just from kind of being in the system and going through the motions with the team. Were there ever kind of lulls where you were like, what the hell am I doing here? Or just feeling like you were just kind of going along with it?
Interestingly enough, there weren't really any outside sources of pressure. Like, my mom, like, she didn't really care too much about my climbing until I was like 9 or 10. Like, when I started competing, then she was like, oh, he's like serious about it. And my dad never wanted to push me to the point where I didn't want to climb. So he was always like, if you do this training camp, we'll get it, but like, I'm not going to sign you up for it. Like, you have to come to me and ask me to send you that sort of thing. And
that's cool.
So because of that, like, yeah, all the pressure was just pressure I like put on myself. My dad likes to tell the story about me when I was like 9 or something. I was trying this like 512 down at Smith, and I was just like having a full blown temper tantrum because I like couldn't figure out a move in the middle. And a couple hikers like walk by and they're like, oh my god, like that dad is so mean. He's torturing his kid, like he's making his kid climb, which is like kind of the obvious thing that looks like, crying kid on the wall, like, dad like belaying. And
sure.
Yeah, sure enough, like my dad could hear them and he's like getting pissed. And so he's like, hey Drew, you want to come down? And I just like threw tears and screaming like, no, I want to figure this move out. So like, yeah, there's no pressure from like family or team. Everything just came from myself. Like, I put way too much pressure on myself from a young age. I will say though, when I was, like I said, I was like really small and shrimpy growing up. Competition climbing in the circuit for bouldering actually was like, setters have like a really hard time like balancing out like the different height categories, especially like in the younger kids.
Yeah, sure. At that young age, the range is super huge between kids.
Exactly. And so because of that, so many years in a row, like I just get so fucked over. Like, yeah, it was second year. I went into finals in like first or second place. I was like one of the only people to do the first boulder, so I was like super psyched. I was having a really good comp. And the second boulder, like, oh, I'll never forget that feeling, man. Like I turned around and saw it and just like immediately started crying because I was just like, this is not fair.
You just knew you couldn't span the move.
Yeah, dude. I started to jog under planes, like a giant platform foot, and then you had to reach over the slip to a slipper. And I like jumped as hard as I could, and I couldn't even touch the hold. Like hold it,
Oh man.
So I was like, wow, dude, like, imagine this, like all this training that I did for like close to a year leading up to this one comp, I just got fucked over because of my height.
Man.
Like, as the sole reason. And I don't like blaming stuff on my height, but basically until I was like 16, like every single comp, it was just like, cool, I can't do this boulder because I'm literally too short. Like, I literally cannot span this move. I cannot reach this foothold. I cannot reach this next hold. And it happened so many times. Like, it was kind of shocking. It was like, wow, dude, like, really, like 10 comps in a row, like I'm getting screwed over 10 comps in a row. Like, so it was just this insane amount of like pressure that I was putting on myself to like perform well, even though I had like a kind of handicap back then. So really didn't like that feeling back then, but I just kept coming back. But that was like every single time that happened, like the following week or so after said competition, I'd be like, fuck this, I'm never climbing again, I hate this is not fair. But yeah, then I just, put my shoes back on, head to the gym, and then, just train for the rest of the year, then go to a comp and get screwed over again, and then you do the same thing, like me just, pouting and being like, this is not fair, I hate climbing, I hate comps. So. What
do you think that was? What made you put your shoes back on and go back to the gym?
I just wanted to, like, stick it to everyone, man. I just wanted to win, even though I was, like, getting screwed over. I just thought it was going to be, like, so cool if I could just be like, yeah, like, doesn't matter. Like, you guys are climbing on boulders that are 4 grades easier because you're tall, and I'm still beating you guys. But unfortunately, that never happened. That's not how competitions work.
Well, that sort of mindset made you get real strong. So.
Well, that's what made me the climber I am today. Like, getting screwed over that much. Because I just trained like so much harder to like make up for everything. Like my coach Tyson, when I started to grow a bit when I was like 12 or 13, he would measure my ape index and measure my like toe to hand, like when I'd stand on the ground and raise my hand to see how high I could reach. And then he'd start setting boulders and routes where the holds were exactly like 1 or 2 inches out of my reach.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that shit sucked. He did it for like 3 years.
Oh man,
it was not fun.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, I was climbing like 514 when I was 12, and I'd be in the gym, unable to climb a 12B because I couldn't reach the holds, and so I just learned how to climb really short, or really tall as a short climber. And right now I'm about 5'7" with like a -1 ape index. So definitely not blessed in the height category, but. Learned to climb like I'm 6 feet tall, and I can kind of like directly attribute that to Tyson.
That's amazing.
It sucked so much at the time. Like I hated it so much. I was like, this is just so not fair. Like I literally can't climb V4 and I can't climb like 512, dude. Like really. But he knew that was what I needed. Like I needed to just get slapped around like that a ton in the gym on stuff that was going to be super uncomfortable until I figured out how to make it feel comfortable. Until I learned how to climb.
So what was that? Was that just like the mental side of it? Was it learning how to stand taller and use like the very tips of your fingers? Or was it like using how to come up with creative beta to get around long moves? Like what was it that you took away from that?
Kind of everything.
Okay.
I just learned how to become taller on the wall.
Okay.
Like even now, like I feel like, I learned like really good like core tension, so I'd like keep my hips like super close to the wall, and that'd give me like an extra couple inches of reach. Like I learned how to like smear really well. I got really good at like jumping for stuff and holding swings. Just because like when you're a midget, like you gotta jump way more than you want. You gotta jump off of like really bad body positions and stuff that doesn't feel like it's gonna work. But sometimes if you're short, there's no other way, so you just have to kind of grin and bear it. So that's what I did for years. I just learned how to climb like I was 6 feet tall, even though I was not even 5 feet tall at the time.
Man, super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it was miserable, man. It sucked. Don't get me wrong. It was not a fun training time in my life, but hey, it worked. So
it seems like there's been kind of these seasons where you've been a lot more into outdoor climbing and a lot more focused on competition climbing and kind of like transitioning back and forth. Have you always been mostly motivated by that kind of like, I'm going to stick it to everybody sort of thing? Or are you equally motivated by routes outside? Like has your motivation and kind of like what drives you, has that changed or evolved at all?
It's changed a bit. Like I used to be super into comps. So for the past 2 years, I was doing the World Cup circuit. Like I'd compete at U.S. Nationals, get a spot in the U.S. team, then travel to Europe and Asia all summer, or all spring and summer, I guess, and even into the fall. So I did that for a couple of years, and it was really fun, but I kind of just realized that it wasn't what was making me like the happiest. Like I was having like a great time, like, training with everyone, like getting ready for comp stuff, doing comp simulations, like traveling the world with like a great group of people. Like like I'll always love like that part, but like the actual competition itself, like I don't like the fact how I make one mistake and I slip, and all of a sudden it feels like I've like just wasted like half a year. And even though that's not the reality of it, and that's what competitions are, like, you know, people do mess up. Like, you're not going to have a good run every single run. I just don't really like that.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just do what I am doing now, where I just climb outside a ton, because I can, you know, see my training like pay off. Every time I like do a boulder, I'm like, yes, I like made that happen. Like, I put in the work to make that happen, and I haven't really had that feeling in comps. So kind of my motivation now is just because I love rock climbing. I want to just keep rock climbing.
That's awesome.
And before my motivation was I wanted to get like as good as possible so I could like win comps and stuff.
Okay.
And now that just doesn't matter to me a single bit.
Interesting. Tell me what about the Olympics?
I was really stoked on the Olympics. It was like the flip of a switch. So I'll start with like bouldering year last year, because that was the bouldering World Cups was kind of like the beginning of like Olympic prospects. But so, like I said, you know, traveling the world, great group of people, super fun. Like, I was in really good shape last year for bouldering, especially like comp stuff. But like every single bouldering World Cup I did, like, I shit you not, every single one I did, I just, luck of the draw, got placed at the very end for running orders. And that makes a huge deal, man. Like, if you're stuck in isolation with like no phone, like, you know, nothing going on, just sitting on the ground, like, you can't even start warming up because it's way too early. Like, there's times I was stuck in isolation for like 9 or 10 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Climbing. Yeah, and it's just by the time you like go climb, like, you know, 70 other people have like greased up the holds you're about to grab.
Oh,
like,
man.
You'll be climbing, like, I was climbing like just the hottest part of the day in China. Like, you know, and I was like, dude, you can't tell me this shit isn't rigged. Like, this is just, I'm not climbing on the same boulders that other people are.
Right.
And, you know,
it sounds
I was
so
like,
frustrating.
yeah, man, it was ridiculous. It was just like, cool, like, I'm just getting unlucky every single time. And by, like, it's not my fault that, like, my start number goes near the end.
Yeah.
That seed randomizes that start list. And if you get at a bouldering World Cup, you get points.
Sorry,
like,
if you get what?
Points. Top 30
Top
at
30.
a World Cup for
Okay.
bouldering, you get ranking points. And then when they compile the start list for, like, the next World Cup, everybody who has points goes before the people who don't. So if you, like, win a World Cup, you get 100 points. You have 100 points to your name, you'll likely go near the very beginning in qualifiers. So you'll get fresh holds. Like, you'll usually get the, like, coolest part of the day to climb. So you sweat less, you know, all that sort of stuff. And then here I was, you know, in the best shape of my life, just unlucky, going second to last, like, 6 comps in a row.
Oh, man.
And I was just like, wow, dude, I randomly got placed near the end. I think one time I was so pissed off that I went near the end again. I calculated percentage that, like, that I got that unlucky that many times. And it was like a 1 in a chance that I got put. There must have been, like, stare next to my name, like that, because it was every single comp I went at the end.
You cut out for 1 second in the middle of that. There was like a 1 in what chance?
There was like a 1 in a million chance.
Yeah.
I figured out the percentage of me.
Oh, you actually calculated it out?
And yeah, dude, I was pissed, man.
Oh my gosh. A literal
like,
1 in a million chance that
and I had like no good comp placements. Like, I got so close to points every single time. Like, I'd always get 16th in my group or 17th in my group. So just so close to points, but then it just wouldn't, like, I wouldn't get any, you know. And then I'd be like, damn. And then like I'd be like, maybe next time I'll go early. Then like the next running order would come out, and I'd be like, fuck, man, I'm in ISO for 9 hours again. Are you kidding me?
Oh, dude.
And, yeah, so that's like the behind the scenes you don't really see about the World Cups. Like,
Interesting.
Yeah, these are how our Americans place. Like, these are the top climbers, blah blah blah. But you don't see the, like, oh, well, this guy had the best start number and went first out and had like freshies, you know, just brand new holds. This guy went 60th out, you know. There's nobody left in the venue for cheering except the coaches.
Oh,
like,
man.
He's climbing at like 4 p.m. when it's like literally 30 degrees warmer in the venue than it was for the beginning competitors.
Wow.
Yeah, so that happened last year, and that was really not that fun. And then finally, at the last World Cup in Vail, I got points. And then I was like, all right, cool. And then rope season started. I actually did pretty well in ropes this year. I was like training really hard. Like I made a few mistakes in some of the comps. Like I didn't have a comp that I was like really, really psyched on until World Championships. And so World Championships was the first Olympic qualifier. And
Okay.
so I had points for bouldering. So I finally went early. I went like 20th or something.
Uh-huh.
And then I made it into semifinals in like 5th or 6th place in my group. And I was like, wow, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, dude, this entire year had I just not gone like hella late. Like, wow. Because I just like convinced myself that I like didn't belong there. I was like
Oh, wow.
not a good climber just because it was like the only thing I was seeing was like my placement. You know, it was just like, fuck, I got like 35th or 40th again. Like,
wow,
damn,
man. Yeah.
you
that
know.
makes
So I was
sense.
just like, damn, I just really am not at the caliber. And even though like, you know, in training, it's like I keep up with everyone just fine. Like, if not like passing like a lot of the guys that are up there, but like, fucking hell, man, it was just so ridiculous. And then so I made semifinals for bouldering. I was like, okay, like, let's go. This is nice. Like, comp's off to a good start. Then I like finished up in 8th place in bouldering, you know, just like the best placement I'd ever gotten. And it was at the most stacked competition that's ever been held. This is the first Olympic qualifier.
Okay.
So that felt really good to like walk away with that placement.
Nice. That's awesome.
And then ropes started and speed went, and I did really well in ropes. I got like 16th or something. It was like one of the best placements I've ever gotten in like a world event.
Nice.
And it was at like World Championships too, at the Olympic qualifiers. So I was super psyched. I was like, oh my god, like this comp is actually good. Like I'm finally having a comp that's going well. Like everything's working out. And then so I like qualified for like the semifinals and the top. So that was the top 20 overall. And I want to say there was like maybe 120 athletes or something like that.
Okay.
120 guys, maybe like 150 guys.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was right. Like 150 guys were there.
What was your placement in that?
8th in bouldering, and then like 16th in lead.
Nice, man.
And then, thanks. Yeah, so that was super fun. And then so I made like the next round, like kind of the first actual step for Olympic qualification.
Okay.
And that was on my birthday, man. I was so hyped. I was just like, oh my god, this could be like the best day of my life. And then I like started out with speed, and I set like a PR. I was just like, no fucking way, dude. This day is turning out amazing. And then I just lost it all after that. I was like sure my bouldering was gonna go really well because that was like probably my best discipline. And then I just like fell grabbing the finish hold like every corner.
Oh no.
It was so bad. And like after the first one, it like got in my head, and then I like, you know, did it on the second one and on the third. Yeah, so that was not that fun. And then lead came around, and you know, the thing about combined competitions is because of the way the math works, how they just multiply your scores across, the comp's not over until it's over. Like, it's just everything can flip depending on like the placement of like one single person.
Wow, okay.
So I was pretty bummed after bouldering. I was like, fuck this, dude, I'm done. Like, my day's ruined. Like, I'm not making it. And then, well, it turns out I didn't make it, but I had, after the lead, dude, I like started on the lead wall, and like I just kind of forgot everything about earlier in the day, and I was just climbing. I had like a really good time climbing on that route, and I started getting like really high on the route, and I was like, oh, okay, like game's changed again. Like maybe this will work out. And then near the top, yeah, I still think about this today. I still think about this move. I stopped and tried to clip this bolt, and I fumbled it, and then I was like, oh shit. And then so I started shaking, and I wasn't on like good holds. I was on these two like jibs on a volume. And I tried to clip again, and I fumbled it again. Then up until that point, I was feeling like really good, and I only had it was left on the route. Like I was really close to the top. And then I finally got it clipped after wasting like 30 seconds of energy. Then I jumped for this next hold, which was a pocket, and I missed it and fell. And I like felt the hold though. It was like good. And had I just not clipped and just jumped straight for the pocket, like I would have grabbed it and I would have clipped, and then I would have fucking done that route. And I would have been in the Olympics right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It was crazy. There's just every single factor. Like, oh my god, just
competitions are so complex.
Like that.
I mean, you can't,
especially combined competitions.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to skip bolts, right? So you would have had to you would have had to anticipate, like, okay, I'll be able to clip low from the pocket if I just go for it.
Yeah, exactly. And then as soon as I like grabbed the pocket, I just knew I fucked up. Like, God damn it. And then, so I was like in second place or something after that, because I like got a lot higher than everyone.
Okay.
But then all the strong people came out after me. And then I just went from like second to third to fourth to fifth, and I stayed in for kind of a while. And then just because my bouldering rank was so bad, like I got like 18th or something in bouldering. It was really, really bad. Because that number was so big, like every single time my lead rank went up a number, like my score just fucking got so much bigger. And you want to have like the lowest score possible, because they multiply like your bouldering speed and lead rank.
Okay.
So if you have like a first, second, and third place, you'll have a score of 6, because like 1 times 2 times 3.
Okay.
So like I had like a 12th place from like, or 11th place from like speed, then like, 18th place, and then I like I was in when like my lead was like 4th, and then all of a sudden when it changed to like 5th place or something like that, like I don't remember the actual numbers, but like one switch and I dropped like 5 places, and I was like, cool, my comp's over.
Got
like,
it.
I'm done.
Oh wow, yeah, because you add 30 points, or no, you add 12 times 6. Oh my gosh, yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So that was pretty rough. That really sucked. It didn't help that it was like on my birthday too.
Oh.
So that sucked. I just wanted like one thing in the world. I just wanted to make it so bad.
Where do we stand with it now? Is there any chance for you with that?
No.
It's done.
No, it's completely done.
Okay.
Yeah, so that shit sucked.
I imagine that has fed into your excitement about this bouldering season, though.
Yeah, definitely.
I imagine with all the luck and not all the bad luck and kind of wondering how you stack up and doubting that, this must be really validating to climb all these V15s and climb your first V16.
Yeah, it's super nice, because like before I like didn't really have many hard boulders. Like before November, I had done like one single V14, I think, and 4 months later that number's up to like 14 or 15.
That is amazing, man.
So that was super nice, because like at all the comps, it was just like, it was like, I wouldn't say like 35th or something at a World Cup is bad, but it definitely was not the result I was looking for.
Yeah.
And that kind of just fed into me thinking like, damn, am I like I thought I was better than this, like, fuck, dude. And then I start climbing outside, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I was just hella unlucky all last year.
Tell me about Pegasus.
Oh, Pegasus, that was crazy, man.
So you recently did the first ascent of a V15 in Joe's called Pegasus, and it looked amazing. Yeah, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so I've been trying that thing for kind of a while, actually. Like, I started trying it in October, and I started, like, just working this out. It's kind of weird, because there's, like, I guess there's now, like, 3 starts on the boulder. There's, like, Pagan Poetry, which is, like, a pretty stout V11. Starts near the top. Add, like, 2 more moves down lower. All of a sudden, that stout 11 turns into, like, pretty solid V13.
Okay.
Go down 4 more moves, and then that's, like, the Pegasus start.
Got it.
So the beginning moves are, like, I don't know, probably V13 or something like that. There's one, like, really, really fucked up move with, like, a really hard heel hook into, like, this undercling. And I had tried Pegasus probably, like, 7 sessions between, like, October and, like, early, or, like, I don't even know. I, like, tried it a bit, but I wasn't super serious on it, because I had, like, done that move 1 time ever.
Oh, wow.
So I kept coming back to it, kept being like, damn, yep, still really, really hard. Like, I didn't even send the 13 until, like, a day before I sent Pegasus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was, like, pretty real. And I kind of just went there with my friend Brennan, my friend Sam, and I don't know if it was conditions or I just had, like, a freak day, but, like, that crux move that I said I was never able to do, I just, like, did it every single time I tried it. I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. Like, why the fuck am I able to do this right now? Like, how could I do this move yesterday? Like, what? But it wasn't even like it just didn't even feel, like, hard that day. It was crazy. So I, like, kind of just pulled on. I had no intention of, like, trying to send it. I still thought I was, like, months away from, like, doing that thing.
Oh my gosh.
And then, yeah, I just like kind of pulled off the ground. Like I fell like near the top on one of the last hard moves, and I was like, oh fuck, like I could do this thing right now. So I rested for like 30 minutes, fanned off all the holds, brushed all the holds, then just got on and kind of just did it. And I was like, oh, that was really freak. Like, why'd that happen today?
That's bouldering, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Does that one stand out to you as one of the more significant ones?
Yeah, that's definitely like behind Sleepwalker. That's probably like my second, like the climb I'm most psyched on besides Sleepwalker.
That's awesome. How would you rank the climb as far as, give it a star rating? What's the quality of the line?
The rock's not the best, but disregard that. Everything else about it's really cool.
Okay.
It's not like it's bad rock either. It's just, Joe's has some really, really cool features, and this one is not one of the most aesthetically pleasing features.
Got it.
But it's still like a very, I think, impressive line. It's really cool.
Nice.
It's regressive. Like it starts off with like the hardest move, and then the moves get easier and easier at the top, but you just get more and more pumped near the top.
Uh-huh.
So there's a couple moves on some underclings, which are pretty fun when you're pumped.
That's awesome. Is there a video of you doing that?
Yeah, there's one on my Instagram. It's not a great video. It's like a side GoPro angle, but I have some pictures and stuff on there too.
Awesome. I'll find
it's
those.
Around like
I'll link to those in the show notes.
Late January, I think.
Cool. Any other significant or favorite ascents, most meaningful ascents to you that stand out? And this could be from your recent bouldering rampage, or this could be anything.
Probably Assassin. Mm-hmm. Man, I'll never forget that climb. That was crazy.
So listeners might know I talk a lot about Smith Rock on this podcast so far, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Drew, you did the first ascent of Assassin 14D in the Agro Gully. What was that? Is that 2016, 2017?
Yeah, 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 16 years old. But dude, I've been trying that thing I've been trying all the parts for 2 years probably.
Yeah.
It's a link up of three. Basically, there's three really bouldery 14As, 14Bs in the cave, and this basically just does the crux of every single one. Like the first one, the crux is at the bottom, so it does that. Then it just continues straight up, does a heinous V11 mono crux on this next 14A, and then traverses a little bit, and then does the last crux on this classic 14A called White Wedding. And so it's kind of obvious that this was just the king line of the wall. It just did basically the most heinous parts of every single route on the wall. And I was just kind of floating with the idea of trying it, because I was like, oh well, might as well. I've done all the moves on all the individual pieces, might as well go for it. And then turns out it was really, really hard. So I was doing a ton of weekend trips with my dad and stuff when I was 14, 15, 16, and it was just tried it 80 times before I sent, and I got through the first crux 3 times ever.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was really hard for me back then, being as short as I was.
Mm-hmm. That's repeat offender crux is V12.
Yeah, the repeat offender crux. Oh my god, it's just so grim if you're short.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But yeah, I managed to figure out how to do all the moves on that, so I was like, okay, well, I guess I could do it. Then in January, I managed to get through the first crux and repeat offender for the first time. Then I got through the villain crux, the mono crux, and I was like, oh shit, I'm sending right now. Uh-huh. Then I got into White Wedding, and then I fucking broke a foothold.
Oh no way!
Yeah, that was not that fun. I think that's probably the worst wobbler I've ever had in my life. Thank God the cliff was empty. You would have heard me all the way from Misery Ridge. Dude, it was bad. And then I just knew it was so lucky that I got through the repeat offender crux. I just knew I wasn't going to get through it again for a while. I was just fuck, dude, that was my try, and I lost it. And then, I kept trying it the rest of that trip. I came down 2 more times in January and 1 time early February. Just still no luck, couldn't do it. And then, yeah, early February, I guess I went there for a week. My friend Margot was there with me. And first day I was there, I tried it a couple times, kept falling on the cracks. And I was, just getting pissed. I was like, fuck it, dude, I hate this climb, I'm never getting there again. Margot's just just one more try, just give it one more try. Sure enough, I made it and just somehow, pulled it out of my ass and, just did the climb that try. I've never, I think I remember that one so much because I've never been that close to falling
Wow.
for as long as I was, but still managing to pull it off. Like, dude, I was like pumped at like the 5th or 6th bolt, like in the middle of the repeat offender crux. And there's like, you know, you got like another V11 crux after the initial V12 crux, and you got like another V10 crux at the top, and then you have to keep it together on this like 12D or 13A to the top, and just fucking every single move I was just so close to falling, and I just managed to stick the next hold by the skin of my teeth and just rest and shake just enough to do like one more move. Like, that was the only thing I was thinking of the entire time. I'm like, just get one more move, like, you know. And then I'd get to like a decent hold and shake, and I'd be like, okay, just do like 2 more moves, you know, you can do 2 more moves. And then I'd like get a couple more moves and be like, okay, chill a little bit, and then just like one more move. So I was kind of repeating that to myself the entire way, just while like
just lying to yourself over and over.
Yeah, and like, just get one more move. Like, you know, don't rush it, just one more move. And then fucking I managed, like, I just got like past the last crux, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm gonna do this thing, but I'm so pumped right now. Like, there was a chance I would like, could like a very solid chance I like would have blown the very top.
Oh my
like
gosh.
You know that top crux, like, that's how pumped I was.
Yeah, there's that like one final move, like literally going to the jug to clip the anchor. Yeah,
like that part, I was there for like just like multiple minutes, just like looking at the jug at the chains, just being like, oh my god, like I'm actually gonna kill myself if I fall here. Like, yeah, but managed to just keep it together, and then I sent that go. It was just the most surreal. Like, I'm getting goosebumps on my arm just thinking about it now. Like, I've never had a climb like that in my life, and I don't know if I ever will again. Like, that was like a once in like 5 years type of climb.
Just as far as like how close it was to your absolute limit at the time?
And just like being that close to my limit, but just still managing to like do everything right. Like, absolutely everything right on that climb, and just managing to try hard enough to just pull it off. And being it was just, man, I was so tired, like 3 minutes into climbing, and I think I was on the wall for like 30 minutes. Or something like that. And I was like about to fall at like the 2 or 3 minute mark. So I'll never forget that climb, basically.
That's amazing.
That was wild.
One thing I think about with you, and I'd love to ask this regarding the Assassin, but you've done so much at Smith, especially from a really young age. I wonder, it seems like it must be kind of weird to have a lot of these climbs that were really significant, and you really had to work for them, and they were hard, and you were proud of them at the time, and to know that right now you could go back and probably warm up on a lot of them and just totally crush them. Is that weird?
A little bit. Like, it's just the progression, though.
Yeah.
You know, like, those climbs made me like the climber I am today. Like, climbing at Smith and just figuring out like how to, you know, grab just the worst holds on the planet and on the worst feet on the planet. On like, you know, a technical like 12C or something, where you're just like, cool, this would be like 13D everywhere else. Like, all that stuff. Like, I mean, I haven't been to Smith for like a year now, and I can still just like visualize like every single step. I can still see every single route like clearly in my mind's eye. Like, you know, I've spent so much time at that place. Like, it's just like home, you know. But I don't know, it doesn't really weird me out that like now those routes, I guess, would be like easy for me. Like, they're still like the same routes they were when I was younger, just now I have like a different tool set to work with.
Cool.
Than I did when I was 12.
That's awesome. So I was talking to Alan Watts, and you know, he really would love to see 515 get established at Smith.
Yeah, there's definitely a few. That one on the backside that I finished bolting, cleaned up, the one that Adam Andre was trying.
Yeah, the All project.
Yeah, he called that thing 14D. I just don't think there's any way it's 14D. Like,
yeah, I mean, he didn't do it. He gave it a solid effort.
Solid effort over a couple days. So I think that thing for sure would be a 15A. Like, I've probably put like 10 days into that thing, and I've only done the crux move one time ever.
Oh my gosh.
So it's hard.
Yeah.
I think that thing's 15A for sure. I think that other project that I was getting really close on above Heresy, the Forbidden Fruit Proj, I think that definitely could be 15A. But I don't know. Climbing that hard at Smith is like, the rock itself doesn't really lend itself to like 515 as well. Like, you could get lucky and find like one or two, but it's not the same as like, you know, Sayus and places like that where like the climbs are like the walls are perfectly sculpted for 515.
Mm-hmm.
Like in terms of like steepness and hold size and like hold distance. Like at Smith, just the holds are just so small there. It's like you can't really get like, you kind of see what I'm saying. Like it's just the rock itself isn't really like good for like, next level 15A or B or C.
Sure, absolutely.
It's just going to be like grouting heinous dime edges on like a 30-degree overhang for 80 feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not the same type of awe-inspiring as like looking at realization.
Where do those two projects stack up on your personal radar? Are they on your list, or are you kind of just like setting them aside for now?
I'm definitely setting them aside for now.
Okay.
I'll go back in the future, but right now I'm kind of just psyched on like trying to do as many boulders as I can, because that's definitely what I'm best in right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have some like goals for kind of like the future, like just numbers that I like want to hit. I think like V17 is totally possible. So there's awesome. Like stuff like that I want to like try and do first now while I can.
Okay.
And then in the future, like I'm definitely going to switch gears and start rope climbing.
Cool,
maybe
man.
Throw some like big wall action in there.
Yeah?
Maybe some ice climbing or mountaineering, I don't know.
Really? Are you interested in that?
Like that? Maybe. I mean, I feel like it's important to be like, just it's not something I'm interested in like right now. Like it's not for me right this second, but you know, 5 years from now, like who knows, maybe I'll be super psyched on like hard rope climbing, or it's hard to say. Like I didn't think I was going to be doing what I'm doing right now. I thought I'd be still just training for comps, but we'll just see where climbing takes me.
Yeah, so what is your plan with that? I mean, you've made it really clear that you're excited about bouldering and that's what you want to focus on for now. What is your kind of, take coronavirus out of the picture, what do you see yourself kind of being psyched on, and what do you find yourself or see yourself moving towards in the immediate future with your climbing?
Taking corona out of the picture, I'm moving to Colorado end of June for school.
Okay.
I'm going to Colorado School of Mines. Like I start late August. So hopefully Corona's cleared up by then, because there's a whole lot of alpine boulders that I want to try.
So that must be a big part of your decision. Okay.
Yeah. I've never done like alpine bouldering. Like all the stuff in Colorado just looks incredible. I don't know, something about just hiking like miles on miles on miles up to like 12,000 feet. And then just trying like pristine granite blocks just seems so much fun to me. So that's definitely kind of what I'm most psyched on right now. But I guess with Corona, it's impossible to tell like how the future is going to unfold.
Okay.
In February, like early February, like fucking who even knew this shit was going to come to the U.S.?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was just like, oh yeah, going about their lives as normal. Even early March, everybody's going about their lives as normal. Then it was like over the course of a week, everything just shut. So that was kind of like a big eye opener. Just like, oh, that's how like things can kind of like change in your life. Like, I was like, felt like just super solid in like my plan. Then all of a sudden it was just like everything like, just changed. It's not that it's like a bad thing. Like, definitely everybody's got to like, flatten the curve, because there are people out there who will die if they catch this, and it's not fair to like prioritize oneself over that. But nice if this thing just one day it'd be like magic and it just disappear.
What are you excited about for school? Do you have something in mind that you want to study?
Yeah, I'm planning on going into chemical engineering with a specialty in biology in the future. Like, I don't really know how it's going to play out, but I would like to have like a part-time job, or like maybe even full-time, I don't know, but something in like medicine development. That just has always interested me from a child. So I think it'd be like my ideal situation would be like, working like 3 days a week or something part-time, then just climbing the rest of the time. Or maybe I could do something like, I'd work for like 2 weeks and then I take 2 weeks off, or work for 2 weeks, take 2 weeks off. Like I haven't really figured out like what I'm going to do for that, because I haven't crossed that bridge yet. But I've no intention to like give up climbing ever. Like the day I can't ever climb again is like, I don't want to live anymore after that. Like climbing is just part of who I am. But I also think there's other things I can do to give back to the world that aren't climbing related. And I've always been interested in medicine, so I just well pursue that and see where it takes me.
Very cool. What about, how important is that to you, even if, let's say you could become a fully supported professional full-time climber, would it still be important to you to have a career outside of that?
Yeah, kind of like as a fail-safe, like say I got in a car accident tomorrow and I broke my back, there's a 99.99999% chance it's not going to happen, but it's just, things can be taken away from you so fast. And I don't want to have to just rely on my climbing for the rest of my life. Because even now, like, I've been on the road for like 5-6 months, just only climbing outside now. And part of me, like, really misses like the school aspect of like learning. Like, I actually can't wait to like start college in the fall.
That's awesome,
like,
man.
I think it's going to be like really fun. So it'll definitely be like a bit of a change, but I know, like everybody I know who climbs hard, like I'm not going to like give up climbing for school, I'm not going to give up school for climbing either. So I'll just figure out a way to make both of them work.
Cool.
So
where are you most excited to go first when quarantine ends?
Dude, I've wanted to go to Rocklands forever.
Okay.
That place just looks amazing. But unfortunately, I think that might be more like 2021 than 2020. So
gotcha.
Yeah, there's so many areas that I've wanted to go to. Even some areas that I was planning on going to now. Like I was going to go to Tahoe for a bit this year, but obviously that's kind of off the table now.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's interesting to hear that you're going to be moving to Colorado. When I was out in Bishop with you, I was asking you about Salt Lake and how it's been living in Salt Lake City. And I remember, and I'm paraphrasing here, so feel free to correct me, but I think you called Salt Lake City the best scene for hard climbing in America.
I think more like best scene for like hard training.
For hard training.
Now.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's really interesting to me. What makes it so great for that?
The gyms that are here are really good. The National Training Center is here as well. So the setters there, like the U.S. team coaches. And because the training center is here and because USA Climbing is located here, like so many of the like good competition climbers. So there's like, 40 people here who climb like hella hard who are always down to train. And it's really hard to find that big of a crew of psyched people like anywhere else. So it's just a kind of a combination of like, the gyms are good, but like gyms don't make people strong. It's people make people strong. Like you could have like the worst gym in the world and still find a way to like use it well if you're psyched enough. But it does help that the gyms here are like really nice. And there's just so many people to train with 24/7 basically.
How important is that, or how helpful is that kind of a scene and that kind of a vibe for you with training for outdoor climbing versus training for comps?
It's awesome. Like training is training. Like everybody's still down to like go work out. Just somebody might be doing a different thing than what I'm doing. But it's still, we're all motivated. Like we're all psyched.
So being around that energy.
That's definitely makes like the biggest difference. Like it's pretty hard to train like the same motivation by yourself as training with other people.
Got you. This might be, this is probably an especially tough question given life circumstances right now, but it might be all the more important. I would love to ask, what is something that you have been especially grateful for lately?
Kind of just like, while in quarantine, like, there's been days when I've been like alone and, there's so many things I've been grateful for, like, having like a good friend group, like, thankful for like my health because COVID's like a pretty nasty bug. There's just so many things to be like thankful for, like right now without even realizing it. Like the fact that I can go buy groceries whenever I need because I have saved up enough to like, get through this without realizing it. Like thankful for that. Like I'm thankful that my parents and family back in Seattle managed to isolate themselves before it got way too bad. Like I'm thankful that pretty much everybody I know is like healthy. Everybody I like care about is healthy enough to like beat this thing. There's I could go on for days, like, being stuck in quarantine, just having like kind of everything you really care about just taken away. It really makes you like think about kind of bigger things in life. Like, climbing means everything to me, but there's other people out there who've got laid off their job and now they don't have money. Being stuck alone in an apartment in New York or something like that for weeks on end. Like, I'm just grateful that things played out for me, like, kind of the way they did. But obviously I wish that things would have played out for everyone differently. Like,
Cool,
So,
man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I just cannot wait for everybody to get over this thing. Like, I don't know how much longer it's going to take, but some reports are saying like social distancing measures could be needed until like early 2021. So just hope that doesn't come to that. Like, I hope that I don't start college on Zoom meetings.
Oh, man.
That would not be the greatest way to start. But
let's say things do clear up here pretty soon. Where's the first place that you're going to go climbing?
Probably Colorado.
Okay.
Would be nice to start the alpine season, at least get like a little bit of time in before I have to start school.
Nice.
So that's like the only thing I can realistically think of right now. Everything else is just like, kind of out of the question.
Gotcha. Where can people find you?
I mean, I'm on social media.
Is Instagram the main thing?
Yeah, Instagram's like my biggest platform for sure.
I just thought of something funny. So before this, we had been mostly communicating on Messenger. Yeah. What happened with your Facebook Messenger?
Dude, I like lost my password. Like, yeah, Steven was like talking to me like in February about doing the podcast, and I was like super psyched, and then it was just radio silence for a while, and then it was just like, oh damn, I guess we're not doing it. And then I get like a DM, and he's like, yo bro, like, have you not seen any of my Messenger messages? And I was like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I haven't gotten anything. Like, I'm logged out. Like, I can't see anything. So not Messenger.
Not Messenger.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah.
Not TikTok. Not Vine. Not any of those other apps. Just Instagram and Facebook.
Got it. Cool. Well, I will be sure to follow up with you and get your training plan for people and add that to the show notes.
Amazing.
Awesome. Got anything else?
Cool.
Anything else to share with aspiring climbers that are psyched?
I mean, just like the basic cliche stuff that actually like is kind of important. Like, you can always try harder. Like stuff like that. Like, I know it is cliche and like you probably heard it a million times, but it's still true. Like, you can always work out harder. You can always try harder. Like, if you want something bad enough, I think you'll do it, Like, I want to keep sending hard climbs, so I'm going to do what it takes to keep sending hard climbs, It's just nothing profound, just stuff like that, I guess.
So now that the competitions are kind of off the table for you, are you just like thinking about individual boulders when you're in the gym going to the death?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I have like 30 different note sheets like on my iPhone, just like boulders I want to do in Oregon. Boulders I want to do in Colorado, boulders I got to do in Salt Lake City, just stuff like that. So definitely been planning out the rest of my life pretty much.
You just stare at those between sets on the rings.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just like visualizing the boulder. I'm like, I'm going to do that one. So
awesome. Well, thanks so much, Drew. I really appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to binging the rest of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, man. Go finish season 6 tonight.
Awesome. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Of course.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay, take care.
Move with the rhythm. Shake it up, stop when the clock hits 13. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
So one last thing I'd love to ask about your training. There have been a few times over the years where I was living in Bend, and you would come down either to climb at Smith or for a competition or whatever it was. And I don't think a single time I really saw you in the gym, but I would come in like the next day and just hear this whisper of like, oh yeah, Drew campused that. He campused that V10. He campused that thing over there. You basically would just come in and just campus everything in the gym, all the hardest problems. And I found that super interesting, and I kind of was asking you about it in Bishop and was pretty interested in how you approach that. So yeah, tell me about how you think about campusing boulders and maybe when you do that with your training.
I think, campusing boulders is super beneficial. I'd never campus board, do anything like that. Like, I can't do 159 because I've, like, never really tried, Like, that sort of, like, very specific type of strength on a campus board doesn't really apply that well to climbing. But campusing boulders, like, one, it's pretty fun. too, it's like, you know, an easy way to train. Like, I don't know, you can just go like campus everything if you want. It's slightly different, and it's way more applicable to climbing because you're doing like similar moves. Just helps develop like upper body strength some more. So when you do end up putting your feet back on the wall, like everything just feels like that much easier. But I don't really have like a set like philosophy behind it or like proof that it works. I just campus boulders for like 30 minutes at the end of each session because it's like fun and I like it and it makes me feel like I'm getting stronger. So
every session?
Usually every session, yeah.
Interesting.
I'll campus for like 30 minutes.
Okay. I was kind of wondering if it was just something you did when you came to the Ben Rock gym because nothing was hard enough for you. No,
I do it all the time.
Okay. And I was kind of asking you, I think we were talking about like what that would look like for me. And, you know, I'm kind of maxed out around V10. So you're like, yeah, you know, just like try to go in there and campus every V4. And I was like, oh yeah, that math actually is like, when you're campusing V10, like V4 is actually kind of spot on for me, which is kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, that sounds about right actually. Like,
okay.
Drop it like 5 to 6 grades.
5 to 6 grades.
And, you know, maybe later, maybe less. Like I've campused V12 in the gym before.
I know, that blew my mind. He said the hardest you campus.
It was a very specific one. It was like you can't do it with every single boulder, but more often than not, you can do it. Like there's a lot of things where like, you know, at first I don't think it's like possible to campus. Like it just doesn't feel like it'd go. But if you try it enough, you'll find like subtle beta. It's like pretty fun because it's similar to like climbing with your feet, but it just brings like an entire other element into it, like using your hips to swing, like pulling really hard. Like you just don't get to like use your feet at all, you know. So you have to be really creative with the ways that you'll campus. But yeah, just starting like, say you climb V10, like starting and trying to do like every V4, and then campus like every V5, and then starting to try like some of the V6s that might like be campusable. Like I think that's like a pretty good breakdown.
Gotcha. Cool. So it's interesting to hear you say that you don't think using the actual campus board is that relevant or has that much carryover to climbing. It seems to me like maybe the campus board is maybe more of a raw finger strength and finger power and pulling power sort of tool, whereas what you're doing, it makes sense that would have a lot more of the similar like body tension and kind of movement and stuff like that.
And it's not that I think that campus boarding isn't beneficial. I've never noticed any benefit personally for myself from it. Like I feel like my fingers have been strong enough that like campus boarding like won't really like help the finger aspect side of it. And if I'm gonna do like just regular pulling on a campus board, like I might as well just do it on a boulder because it like fits better. But I think in my opinion, campusing boulders is better than campus boarding. So
gotcha. Do you think you have noticed any sort of effect on your finger strength doing what you're doing from the campusing, or is it more just like body power and tension and stuff?
I think it's kind of just everything. Like my fingers do feel like stronger when I do campus. Like everything just feels stronger when I campus. So,
do you ever do it outside?
Every now and then if I get inspired enough, but it's not really a habit that I like to like do a lot.
Gotcha. Cool. Right
mainly
on.
Just like bets, like coffee bets and stuff like that.
Say that again.
My friend will be like, it's mainly just for like coffee bets. Like my friend will be like, oh, I bet you can't campus this move. I'll be like, oh, well, you're on then. So, stuff like that.
What kind of stakes are we talking?
Oh, just like a coffee or a donut or something. You know, one that I wouldn't feel bad losing, but it also would be nice to win.
Got it. Do those kind of bets make you climb harder?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know me, I love Starbucks. I'll do anything I can to get a Starbucks drink.
What about your favorite? Do you have a favorite donut?
Oh man, I've probably got to go like Maple Bar. Although Krispy Kreme makes these like cream filled donuts, holy shit, those are good. I could eat like probably 12 of those in a row, like an infinite amount.
Nice.
Send food though.
Send
better
food.
than Mike and Ikes.
Donuts and Mike and Ikes. Right on.
Solid.
Thanks, man. I think I can transition out of that from there.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Just hit me up if you need anything.
Cool. Thanks so much, Drew.
Yeah, for sure.